Hi everyone, Dr. Joanne here. Welcome to my latest video, Relationship Conflict, 4 Phases of Maneuvering Through Anger. So I'm a mind-body doctor and a mindset coach, and this video is something that the contents of this is what came up as questions in my group program. The gals earlier this year were asking for really solid tools on like, what do I do? Like when I'm in the heat of the moment, when I'm really having a big blow up fight with my partner or my spouse, what do I do? How do I maneuver through that? So this information is what I came up with, that I helped my clients go through, and so it will probably help you as well too. But first, I want to start off with just this overall theme that just anger is information. It's not a way of life, so we don't want to stay stuck in it. It's not that it's, good or bad. It's just information, and we want to be able to move through it. It's information that something is ready to be healed, that maybe a belief is ready to be challenged, that something is no longer serving us and is ready to be let go of. It's information that forgiveness is needed, and it's information that it's time to fill up our own love tank. And as we're doing this work, when we are in that anger mode, whether it's frustration or irritation, resentment or anger, we want to just recognize when we're feeling the anger, and we want to move in the direction of feeling more love, more self-compassion, more appreciation. We want to move from anger to love. So here's the 4 phases of maneuvering through the conflict when you're feeling anger. So phase 1, I call phase 1 this dance of maneuvering through the conflict. So it's in the heat of the moment. In the heat of the moment, you're having a really, really big argument. What I want you to understand here is that in the heat of the moment, the other person cannot hear you or understand your point of view when you are angry or triggered. There's just, the emotional energy is too loud. So I want you to stop trying to convince them of anything or change their mind, or stop trying to resolve anything in the heated moment. Because you're not going to change their opinion or perception while either one of you are triggered or angry. So there's no point in going further into this hole or into this soup. Just stop yourself. As soon as you recognize what is happening, I want you to slow down. Stop talking. Take a deep breath or several deep breaths. And see if you can just tell the other person that you are really triggered emotionally and that you are a little confused by it. Tell them you need some time alone to process what's really going on. Tell them it's not them, to not take it personally, and you shouldn't take what they do personally either. Because when we're angry, we say things that we don't want to say, that we don't mean. It's just kind of like when you're really fighting, you're having that big fight with this person that you love, you know what triggers them. And you just want to hurt them. You want to lash out. So you know what will hurt them, and you say those things, even though you really don't want to. So just stop. Stop and just slow down and retreat. Maybe ask to meet later when you can think more clearly. Then leave and find a place to be alone as soon as you can. Work through the emotions. And in my program, Mastering Your Mindset for Women, we have this emotional charge worksheet that is their guide, basically. And what it asks you is basically the gals in my program, one of the first things we do is look at our triggers and look at common underlying limiting beliefs that trigger some of our reactions. So with the emotional charge worksheet that I work through with my clients, is there a belief that you need to challenge? And do you need to just fill up your love tank? Probably. If you're fighting with somebody or taking something personally, or you're angry, your own love tank is empty. So you need to fill that up for yourself first. Don't expect anybody else that's having some emotional difficulties, emotional challenges, They're not going to be able to fill up your love tank. They're not going to be able to give you love and attention and affection. Do it yourself. Learn to do it yourself. And then you have to work through the limiting belief. Just assume there's a limiting belief coming up that you need to work through. You can journal, meditate, just breathe deeply. Do whatever helps you best to reset your energy. Go for a walk, listen to music, and then you ask for guidance. Keep an open mind. Work through the confusion, because there's this confusing place when you're doing this work. You're like, is it me? The first thought is, hell no, it's them. They're the one who started it. But your only point of power is to work on you. So if you can leave them and their issues out of it and only work on what's coming up for you, you're going to be able to work through it faster. And I had a neighbor, their family came up with this: keep your eyes on your own bobber. So, when you're fishing, you've got your fishing line and there's the thing that floats on the top of the water. That's your own bobber. Keep your eyes on your own bobber. So, or stay in your own lane. Don't worry about their issues and what's going on or other people's. Work on your own things. That's what's going to set you free. And A Course in Miracles has a lot of workbook lessons that helped me greatly in these moments. And so I had to keep coming back to these lessons. Like, I want to see this differently. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I don't know what this is for. That kind of helped me get out of this state of mind where I was making incorrect assumptions. I thought it was right. I thought that my point of view was the truth, but I just kept asking myself and telling myself, I don't know what this is for. I'm never upset for the reason I think. There's something else going on. I want to see this differently. I want to perceive this differently. I kept going back to those lessons, and that helped me a lot. So what is your goal? In the heat of the moment here and in these relationship issues, look at your overall goal. Is the relationship really important to you? If it is, figure out your shit. Reset your energy, fill up your love tank. If the relationship really isn't that important to you, don't waste any more time or energy on it. Move on. And then you have to ask yourself too, is there a power struggle going on? Do I want to be right? Am I blaming? How can I soften my current story about what's going on? And when you've got two people with a power struggle going on, both want to be right, that takes a while to sort itself out. It really does. That's been definitely the issue with me and my husband. We both want to be right. We both want to be in charge. A big power struggle. You have to reach for the win-win where you're both winning. And what I noticed in my relationship with my husband during this particular phase is I noticed I changed how I changed my predictable patterns. So I noticed that as I slowly chose not to fight, I had a period of time where I shut down instead. I froze instead. So I don't want to fight. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to cause any more problems. So I would just kind of freeze. I just shut down. So I was dropping the fight, but it took me a while to stand in my own authentic power. So I went from fighting to freezing to then coming back into my own authentic power. So it's a process. And during this phase, he still had his same dismissive tendencies, like, it's not me and that's not really what's going on, and just, deny and dismiss. And that was just something that he had learned growing up. So that was my experience during this phase 1, where you're at the heat of the moment. And again, slow down, stop talking, go look at what's really going on underneath the hood. Phase 2, then, if you're having really big fights, it's really just a message that there's a lesson for you. So you've got to decondition your anger. You've got to unlearn some things. So some of the things you can ask yourself is, what is anger doing for you? Is it allowing you to be right or righteous? Is it allowing you to stay in a power struggle? Like maybe you're feeling powerless or like a victim and you're trying to win back your power. Does it allow you to blame, complain, and make excuses This is a hard look at ourselves. This is what we go through in my program, because you can't really heal your anger until you like dive into what's underneath the hood. And what else is anger doing for you? Is it allowing you to keep the old stories going? No one's listening to me, no one's helping me, I'm never good enough, I don't matter, I'm not important, no one loves me, no one respects me. Is it just your knee-jerk response of like, and just keeping those things going when they're really not helping you anymore? So, and is anger your identity? Who would I be without my anger? That's a really big one. When I'm working with clients with anger, who would I be without my anger? Um, when I'm angry, I get things done. It gives me energy. It gives me purpose. It gives me focus. Um, I, I kind of like being angry. And then people don't walk all over me when I'm angry. If that's your identity, there is a better way. There's a better way that feels better, that is actually more powerful and feels so much better, but you have to drop the old identity. And does the anger get you attention when no one is listening? For me, I had this belief that like the kids and my husband wouldn't do anything for me unless I got to the point where I was off the cliff and yelling and screaming. That got their attention. So before, like, they weren't listening to me, so I've got to be in anger mode before anyone listens to me, and that's not the case either. So, ask yourself, just get real. Do you have some beliefs of what anger is doing for you? And then looking at what is anger doing to you. Is it pushing your closest relationships away, where you're lashing out at loved ones? And is anger decreasing your immune system? It really does. So you might experience things like rashes, infections, flu, colds, hot flashes, liver damage, heart damage, gallbladder attacks, decreases in your immune system and body breakdown. Body breakdown, like where you're burying these old wounds, but you're burying them and keeping the toxic energy inside of you. So in the mindset world, or A Course in Miracles teaches that we're miscreating in your body. So you're creating pain and injuries and all the things. And anger also keeps you in this constant fight mode, like you're fighting with everybody. And you keep drawing fights to you. So people are constantly hurting your feelings, dissing you, disrespecting you, attacking you. Anger makes you miserable. So, and then you have to ask yourself, how am I creating anger with my thoughts? So this negative Nelly in your head, it's just limiting beliefs on autopilot. Like nothing ever works out for me. I can't do anything right. No one likes me. No one helps me. I'm all alone, blah, 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 blah. And then arguments in your head when no one's around. You're replaying past scenes in your head. And then you're coming up with snarkier comments, the last word, the convincing argument. That's just keeping the fight going in your head. And then you'll experience fights in your outer world. And then maybe look at your major relationship. Is it a codependent relationship? And if you're experiencing a lot of anger in your relationship, probably, almost definitely, you are in a codependent relationship. So think of it like a dance. One person is needy and the other is aloof. So, and this can change from one person to the next. So who is the needy one in your relationship? Who is the distant one in your relationship? Who carries the emotional load? Who processes all the emotions in the relationship versus who dumps the emotional processing on the other? Who goes into overdrive and overcompensates during stressful times versus who shuts down emotionally during stressful times? And what kinds of things trigger you and the other person? And what's your story about the other person? How do you judge them? What are your beliefs about them? Can you see other possibilities for them? Can you change your story about them? Can you see that they have childhood wounds just like you do, that they have things to work through just like you do? You're just trying to look for ways to soften your viewpoint of them. The goal really is to get to this place where you're sensitive, sensitive enough to know what's going on, yet emotionally intelligent enough that you're wise about their needs versus, or your needs versus the needs of others. So that's emotional intelligence. You're sensitive, you know what's going on, but you're very wise and deliberate about your needs versus the needs of others. And then as you do this work, know also that your friendships will change and shift. So, where maybe you have a lot of friends that all you do is you blame and complain, um, and that's just all you talk about, just negative things with a certain group of friends. That will shift over time, because that won't feel good to you anymore. As you start to shift and change, you'll then have new friends that are more supportive and uplifting, and so that's just a natural progression. So as you're working on yourself, on your own issues in this phase 2, where you're unlearning and deconditioning yourself, you have to decide, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? So one is happy is your natural factory setting. Being right is just the ego wants to be right. Are you blaming or are you blessing? Are you in a mode of ease or struggle? Are your thoughts more war-based or peace-based? Are you playing the victim or are you victorious? Are you focusing on what you want or what others want? Are you focusing on being the best version of yourself, or are you more focused on what you think other people want you to be? Now, some of the tools we use to work through these, of course, would be A Course in Miracles workbook lessons. And then in my Mastering Your Mindset for Women program, it's got all the tools. There's the first course is Learn to Heal Yourself, where we go through all the things. We start off with identifying what's triggering you, what your limiting beliefs are and what to do about them, what your fears are and what to do about them, what makes you angry, and looking at what's under the hood, the hurt feelings, and learning quantum forgiveness so that you're moving the energy. So you still remember what happened, but it no longer has that emotional component. And you're just learning tools to reset all of your predictable patterns while under stress. And you're learning how to soothe yourself. So a daily routine that helps you reset and feel better and fill up your love tank. So it might be breath work, it might be meditation, it might be journaling, it might be gratitude list, but something to help you reset also your magnetic monopole, which is an area behind your heart, or in the area of your heart, that you want to emotionally set your own frequency, set your tone, so that you attract to yourself what you want in life. So those are, the basic tools that we go through. And then what I noticed in my relationships during this phase 2 of unlearning and deconditioning is that my husband was pleased when I did this work. He was pleased that I was happier. And that kind of helped soften our relationship. But he also still felt that he was off the hook and was still a little bit dismissive, like I was the problem, not him. But I was happier. I was happier and things were a lot easier. Then we move into phase 3, where I call this phase where you're powering up. You're connecting in with your own life, your own purpose, your dreams. You're connecting in with love. You're stepping more into your own authentic power. And here, it's all about knowing yourself, knowing your predictable patterns while under stress. So your tendencies, what triggers you, knowing your limiting beliefs, knowing how you create cycles that are not serving you. And then you just work diligently towards creating new, more empowering stories. You keep resetting your energy, you keep connecting with love, you turn the energy around, and you gain momentum in a better feeling direction. You develop your game plan. What's your morning routine? And it doesn't have to take very long, just 10 or 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. So it might be a gratitude list, meditation, energy work, energy expansion work, working on goals, journaling, Course in Miracles workbook lessons. And it's within this game plan, it's what is your routine throughout the day whenever you get triggered, because you will get triggered. You'll get triggered. And what are you going to do about it to reset? So knowing these quick little reset things that help you the fastest to get out of your funk. And what I noticed in my relationship during this phase of powering up and stepping into my authentic power, this is where the biggest shift happened for us, for my relationship with my husband. The biggest shifts happened in this phase when I finally stepped into this phase. So as I stood more in my authentic power, he naturally attuned more to my energy. And this phase took about a year to really start working. So the first 6 months, I would say that he fought it, he resisted, he acted out, but I stayed in a calm, cool place about it. And I just waited for him. I knew it was worth it. I just waited it out. The second 6 months, he shifted into a kinder, gentler place. And I was like, yay. And then the following year, he became more and more interested in cleaning up his own issues and growing with me. So that was all worth it. It took some time, definitely, but it was all worth it. And then I believe there's a phase 4. If you've been dealing with anger a lot in your life, there is a phase 4 where, phase 3, you've worked on yourself quite a bit. You've cleaned up a lot of the anger in phase 2 and phase 3, stepped into your power. But then phase 4 is what I call the universe circling back around to make sure that you're cleaning up all the rough edges. So here you might experience random angry people yelling at you or triggering you. So, and they catch you off guard when they do this. So this one took a while for me to sort out as well, until I could kind of see it, that the universe was just sending me another opportunity. Like, are you still in a good place? Or do you still have some healing to do? Do you need more practice? So some old wounds that were triggered in me as other people would like randomly yell at me for things. It was triggering old wounds where people were unloading their shit on me and blaming me for their issues. And I would be instantly mad about it. So I had some more forgiving to do. So I was trying to soften that anger. What helped me was seeing that they were hurting, and giving them grace and blessings, shining a light on them. And stopping myself from being passive aggressive, but standing up for myself in the process. And this was a process. So, standing up for myself when I had reached a point of emotional clarity before responding helped a lot. But again, that was a process. All of these things are a process. You just practice and you get better and better at it. But ask yourself if this reminds you of anything else in your life that needs some healing. So do you need to focus more on what is working rather than what isn't working? Do you need to focus more on being grateful? Do you need to drop your judgment? Do you need to focus on your own bobber? Remember the fishing line, stay in your own lane, because really that's such a key issue when you're working through a lot of your stuff. It's just way too easy to focus on what the other person isn't doing right or what they should be doing. You've got to bring it back to yourself. So those are the 4 phases. Like when you are maneuvering through conflict in your relationships and there's a lot of anger, again, phase 1 is that dance where in the heat of the moment, you've got to slow down and stop, take some deep breaths, and just remove yourself from the situation. And then phase 2, you've got to decondition and unlearn, figure out what your anger is really all about, and do some healing. Heal your own wounds around those triggers. Phase 3, you got to power up, step into your authentic power. And really, this is really where you become emotionally intelligent and more deliberate in your reactions. And then phase 4, again, as the universe just brings you other lessons, just to make sure you're still in a good place, that you're still emotionally clear and watching your own lane. So hopefully this helped you. If you have more questions or you want to dive into this some more, check out my website, drjoannetully.com. And check out some more YouTube videos. You can schedule a $30 number 1 roadblock to well-being discovery session with me. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, comment on it if you have questions or other comments. Hopefully this served you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.